Okay, we're going to do round two of my discussion with the Deke N'Blue and his writings about the Just Drive book that he's done. And I just want to point out to people that happen to be listening to this that I remember I found his blog on a Facebook post, and I remember thinking to myself, wow, who the hell is this guy? Because there's so few people that blog about the real experiences of bus drivers that it always sticks in my mind when I see something really good. And the Deke here has really done some excellent work along the same lines as Dan Christensen, who's had his. Everybody knows who Dan is, of course. I mean, he's been around as long as me, and Dan did some really great stuff too. And then we have the Deke N'Blue, who still prefers not to be known, so we have to respect his opinion there. And I don't remember exactly what the post was, but I remember I was very impressed when I ran into his blog, and I was just like, wow, this guy really gets it. And so we were going to do round two here about the Deke N'Blue and how he thinks about bus driving. And let me just start the second part with some very basic questions. So, hello, Deacon, you there?
Hey, Al, how are you?
I'm all right, brother. I'm all right, bro. I wanted to just start off this second part with some basic questions, like what even possessed you to write the book? It's a great read, and as a former bus operator, I truly enjoyed it. Brought back some great memories. How did you come up with the material? How do you even decide what you're going to write about?
Well, it was kind of an easy choice. When I first started driving a bus, I've been a writer all my life, and I said to myself, they always say write about what you know, and I'm doing this every day. Oh, what the hell? I'll just write about it. So from the driver's side was born as an exercise in writing, and so over the past 4.5 years, I've compiled over 200 posts, I believe, on the blog, and the book is a direct product of that blog. The book is full of blog posts from before I was a bus driver all the way to earlier this year. So I just pulled a bunch of blog posts together, edited the hell out of them, and threw them into a book format. And it took 1.5 years to produce, but it's out there.
Yeah,
Just drive.
Yeah, the first part of your book was about your son and the interaction your son had with you. I remember that's part of the book that I do remember very well is you were interacting with a bus driver and your son got involved in that. Can you go over that for us here?
Well, it was actually on a MAX train, and
Okay.
my family and I were Christmas shopping, and we had a little altercation with a lady on the train.
Oh, that's right, yes.
She was very rude, and she just wanted to pick a fight. And this was really before I rode transit a lot, so I was kind of thrown back by it. And so was my son. He was 8 years old at the time, and I was his hero. And by golly, he wasn't going to let some mean old lady pick on his daddy.
Yeah, that was really something, man.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with that one, boy.
He would have punched her if I hadn't caught him.
So how's the book doing, Deke?
Well, it could always do better, Writers, we want as many people as possible to read it and pay for it. But it's doing okay. It's only been out 3.5 weeks, and we're starting to make a little money on it. But the main thing about the book is to share the experiences of bus operators around the world. We deal with a lot of the same problems. People have these grand ideas as to what they think we should do and how we should do it, but it's just I wanted to let people know, that bus in front of you stopped for a reason, and it's taking longer than you wanted to, but this is what's happening. This is what we're going through. And like I said, it happens to everyone who drives a bus, whether you're in Australia, Ireland, Nova Scotia, Vancouver, BC, Vancouver, Washington, LA, Portland, Phoenix, anywhere. I just wanted to explain a very misunderstood profession.
Yes, indeed, indeed. What do you think about transit management, Deke? What do you think about transit management and how they handle public transportation in this country? And do they stand by the operators? Give me your opinion about transit management.
Well, I think they've been, they like to give the impression that they do wonderful things for us. Well, I'm sure they think they do.
Yeah, you're right.
But until lately, they really haven't understood what we do. I think it's vital that people in upper management take bus driver training. They go out and actually do what we do. That they go through rail training. That they do some work in service. And I've heard some positive things about upper management, the newer people taking classes and having to pass their CDL and driver training. It's something I've advocated for years. You cannot be empathetic unless you've walked in our shoes, unless you've sat in the seat, had urine thrown at you, or been spit at, or yelled at and screamed at. And the shift that over the past year from used to be safety first, now it's schedule first. It's a really bad idea. Yeah, we want to be on time. We all try to be on time, but you can't have safety, schedule, and customer service all together. You can have one, maybe two, but not all three. Something's got to give.
Yeah.
So I prefer to roll safe. If I'm on schedule, great. If I'm not on schedule, oh, well, I'm safe. That's the first thing we're taught in training, be safe. It's also the first and last part of my mantra that I say every day before my shift. So if you're pressured to stay on schedule, you can be tempted to do things that aren't safe, and you're also not inclined to wait for the runners. If you're running late, well, sorry guys, you weren't here on time, bye. That's not good customer service. People need to be places, and that's what we're there for. So I think there's a disconnect between management and the people who do the job and why we do what we do. I think there's room for improvement, but I'm optimistic that will happen.
Yeah, as somebody who drove his first transit bus in the 70s, okay, I started this, half of my professional life has been in public transportation. And I drove my first transit bus in the 70s, and then I did it again in the 80s, and then I ended my career at TriMet in the 90s all the way to 2012. And I noticed myself how the neoliberal agenda has infected the public transportation. And the neoliberal agenda is how much productivity can we get out of our drivers? How many people can we pack into the bus? And my personal opinion is that this is what has destroyed public transportation, is the idea that somehow we as bus operators have to be as efficient, quote unquote, as possible. Back in the 70s, we didn't have this problem. We had plenty of recovery, what they call recovery time now used to be called break time. So you get to the end of the line and you'd have plenty of break time. And so you didn't have to worry about the schedule so much, but it's changed so much that now operators are really under a lot of pressure to be productive, and that's ruined public transportation in general, at least from my point of view. So I don't know. When did you start driving buses? Just at TriMet, right?
Yeah, and it's
right.
One of
so
many careers. Hopefully it's my last blue-collar job. That's about all I've ever had in my life. It's my first union job, and that's been an interesting part. but I really enjoy it. You know, I've always loved driving, especially something big.
Yeah, the public, I loved transit drive. When I first did it, when I was at University of Massachusetts, I loved it immediately. It's like you're meeting all these people coming through the door, and it was just a great job. I mean, it
yeah,
really...
now they want to cage us off, because of all the assaults. We've had 83 assaults on transit workers this year.
Yeah, they don't want you to be part. You're right. They don't want you to be part of the socialization aspect anymore. You can't. It's like what's happened here? What?
But you're going to cage us off from the 90% of people or more like 95% of people who, they do what they're supposed to do as passengers. They pay their fare. They sit down. They mind their business. They thank us on the way out. They obey the rules. So I don't look forward to having the cage around me. It will dampen my interaction with a lot of people. There are a lot of great people who ride transit. I've met so many interesting, fascinating, lovely
God, yes.
It's going to cut us off from them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They're gonna that part of the job, which is what I loved. Back when we had all the old buses, and they used to call it the creep seat. The creep seat. The guy would be sitting right next to you, basically, and looking at you and talking. And I mean, that was the whole part of the job that was great for me, was having the people. I can't tell you how rewarding that was for me. And now, I don't know, it's 2017, and now they're trying to completely cut that off, and that's a damn shame.
Well, I think, back to your question, management should look at, instead of knee-jerk reactions, to actually trying to fix the problem. I know you can't fix mentally ill people as a transit management, and that shouldn't be their focus. What their focus should be, I would like to see a police presence on the bus from time to time, random. Take this new money from the transportation tax, and instead of throwing more max lines out there and spending billions of dollars, fix what you have now. Put transit cops on the buses. Quit making us feel tethered. If somebody hits me, I want to protect myself. I don't know if they're going to kill me or not, and we feel worried about our jobs if we get attacked and we attack back, or attack back isn't the right word. Defend ourselves, and that's a wide-ranging definition there. But when you get attacked, your body goes into the fight or flight biological response, and it's your mind is prepared to protect your body's, your heartbeat. And if somebody's beating on you and you beat back, it's because you're trying to disable your attacker. You're not being violent. You're violently protecting yourself, which is a basic human right. Anyway, we could go on and on about that, but our brothers and sisters who have driven late-night fours know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Management doesn't. But.
No, that's unfortunate about the management. They're just so disconnected, and the transit managements follow the culture in general. The American culture in general has evolved away from the public being part of the equation to this elite group of people who are making all the decisions for us. And that's unfortunate, because you can see how the public services have kind of gone down in terms of quality. I can see it as somebody who started in the 70s and ended in 2000. When did I retire? 2012, I think I retired. And I noticed myself how the job had just really declined in terms of what it used to be and what it is. And a lot of that's on the backs of the transit management in general in the United States has changed the focus of the job to a more
right.
Yeah, we got to be productive. So let me talk about what do you you've driven all over Portland right now. So what do you think? Where's the most dangerous place to drive in Portland right now?
Oh my God! Well, besides everywhere, downtown mostly. You know, I know about 10 or 12 years ago they redesigned the downtown transit mall, but it's still not right. It needs a major overhaul. It's, oh, good grief, it needs to be done, redone. Take all traffic except transit out of the equation, and keep bus and rail traffic out of each other's way. They don't enforce traffic laws on the mall. The bus-only markings are worn off in most places. The traffic signs are nearly invisible. They're miniature. They're tiny little jokes. People can't see them. And those who do know don't care. Oh, the cops won't write me up. I'll make a right turn in front of this bus anyway. Oh, that train's coming. Oh, well, he'll just have to wait till I get out of his way. Portland doesn't seem to be concerned about safety on the mall. You add pedestrians, arrogant bicyclists, or skaters, or, you know, and it's a big disaster in waiting. And, you know, people have been killed down there, and it's a time waster. They talk about schedule. Whenever you have a bus line that goes through downtown, which about 40 or 45 of our bus lines do, you'd kind of think you'd be wanting to look at, if you're worried about schedule, look at efficiency. We're in the way of rail, they're in our way. Streetcars can hold you up for 2-3 minutes. We should be able to have a transit mall that takes all this into consideration and doesn't become a major headache every rush hour.
Yeah. You know, after 5 years at Trimet, I finally went to Merlot Garage, and I never went back to any of the other garages. I never went back to downtown again, man. And that's how I survived my 15 years at Trimet. Is I never went.
I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess.
Yeah, I never went back to downtown, and the next decade of my life was spent on the west side, and that was really great because of what you just mentioned.
So yeah, there are more other dangerous parts, but the most dangerous place would be downtown Portland, and it should be one of the safest. We have people visiting here from all over the world. I give them rides on my bus every day, and they're like, "Wow, this transit mall is crazy." Yes, thank you.
Did you ever drive the mall when it was just buses? You never did, right? You never saw that.
No.
Yeah, that was that was really something, man. They had.
It was better, I'll bet.
Oh yeah, you could get anywhere in Portland from the transit mall. Every bus line went through there, and you know, when they ended that, it was like, wow. And they put the rail in.
It was probably more efficient that way.
Yes. Well, as a rider, it was definitely a better thing than it is today. There's no doubt about it. You had much more capability of getting where you needed to go than you do now. What's next for the Deke N'Blue? Where are you going? Where are you going to go from here?
Well, Deke continues to write his blog. I do.
Yes, you do.
And you know, sometimes I don't like to write just to write. There was a point there after a year or two, oh my gosh, I haven't written anything in the blog, and the blog's calling me. Well, I didn't have anything to write. So rather than bore people with repeating myself, you know, I've come to the point where I'll write something when I think of it. But there are a few other projects I have in mind. You know, how many operators do you know, Alan, who say, I should write a book with all the stories I have to tell?
Actually, not that many.
Yeah. I talk to a lot of them. You know, when they find out that I'm the Deke, oh, I got a story for you. I should write it down. I'm going to put out a book. Well, they're not going to. It's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you're a writer already. I don't want to discourage people. There are plenty of bus drivers that can put out great books, you know. I'm just one of those, and we experience all types of people, situations. it's a gold mine for a writer out here. I have an idea for some other books, some not as the Deke N'Blue. I've been a writer all my life, as I said, and I started a book 20 years ago and I haven't finished it, a novel. I'm not sure exactly. A lot of my efforts right now are trying to get this book to sell. I think it's a good book. I don't do book signings because I don't have an adequate costume to wear. I'm going to keep flying under the radar for now, doing what I can for my fellow operators. Drivers come up to me once in a while and say, "Will you sign my book?" Sure, as long as it's not right in front of a manager. But I'm very honored to do that. It's very humbling to me when people ask me to sign their book. But if they say, "Hey, Deke, sign my book," I might growl and walk away or pretend to be looking, where is that damn Deke anyway? I'm pretty protective of this anonymity, but it's for a good reason.
Yeah.
Now, unless if Ellen DeGeneres were to plug my book on her TV show and gave me an interview, maybe it would do so good I wouldn't need to be Deke anymore. But it also gives me the freedom to write what operators really feel without fear of recrimination, reprisal, and sometimes it's kind of weird having a dual personality that you have come up with.
Yeah.
But I just want to keep writing, Al. I always have, and I finally decided to do something about it. So here we are. Buy my book.
Yes.
Please.
I heartily recommend buying this book. People that have ride transit or have ridden transit or intend to ride. You know, it really is one of the most misunderstood professions in the United States. It's always been curious to me why the culture doesn't get this. I already know that American culture, generally speaking, is pretty bankrupt culture. I don't mean to turn anybody off, but you know, in terms of what Americans as a culture value, is pretty valueless, and what the American culture should value is not really thought about. One of the things is the transit bus driver, the unheralded profession that keeps people connected. And you know, I just think that transit management is somehow responsible for this. You know, that they want to make sure that the public doesn't really like the transit operators for some reason. I'm not really understanding why. And I've thought about this.
I don't know that that's it. I think they just don't understand how to portray us. Every once in a while, you'll see a story that's about an operator doing something nice. They save someone. We had one knock on some doors when the family's home was burning and saved their lives, and he was on the news. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Makes us all proud, the operators all over the world, to see little kids running around in their underwear in the winter and stop and get them on their bus and make sure the police come and take them home. You know, people who are lost, we get messages every day. So police or family are looking for a child, and a lot of the times they end up on transit, and operators, you know, help save these people, and
yes,
or older people with dementia get lost.
Right.
We're not just driving a bus out there; we're doing a valuable service to our community.
Absolutely. It's like essential service. It's essential. I mean, people would not be able to live without it, and that's
why we can't strike in Oregon. Could you imagine Portland without transit?
Well, I think that the management would have to cave in immediately if there was a strike. And that's one of the, you know, they got rid of that because they knew that without TriMet, or Portland would be crippled. You know that as well as I do, because even though TriMet's not building the ridership that everybody, you know, that Seattle is, we know how vital anybody that's operated a bus. And TriMet knows how vital that really is, you know,
And we don't hold it over their heads either, you know.
No, right. It's kind of like...
We take our jobs seriously, and we know we're providing a vital service, but they miss the point when they don't educate the public about what we do, why we do it, and they have sometimes different opinions about that than bus operators. There's a major disconnect between the operator, the management, and the public.
Yeah, I think that's intentional. I think that's intentionally done, though, and to keep... The transit management doesn't want the transit operator to become a actually influential person in these things. They want to make sure the transit operator is kept down, and I really believe that, believe it or not. I really do believe that.
Well, damn it, that's why I write a blog.
Yeah. Right.
A lot of operators will come up to me and say, "Man, Deke, you nailed it. That's just how I feel."
Right.
And that's good. And then other operators will come up and say, "Well, you know what, Deke, I disagree. I see what you're trying to say, but here's my opinion." And I value that just as much, you know, and because we're a very diverse group of individuals. Every one of these operators, supervisors, trainers, station agents, mechanics, we're all a big team. And why are we always at odds with management?
Yeah, that leads me to my last question for you, and this is, I think, the most important question. If you were the general manager of TriMet, Deke, what would you do?
Well, quite a number of things. I'd fire about half of management right away. Well, maybe not. There are a lot of things that I would do, not necessarily the least of which being working on that communication issue I was just talking about, trying to educate the public how to ride a bus, for crying out loud. Also, building up the operators. The operators are great, you know, and yeah, sure, you have a bad apple once in a while. I tell the city, please, every city in this metropolitan area, police officers, cite people for refusing to yield to a transit vehicle. You'd make a mint. Good grief. I'd probably work really hard at bringing the community, bringing operations and management closer together, so that, borrowing a corporate speak phrase, on the same page, which they love to say that. I don't think they know what it means usually, but just trying to build a consensus how to best serve Portland and any other area in the world. Mm-hmm. How do you work together? Somebody beats up an operator, I'd be the first one on TV saying, "Find this guy. We'll give you $10,000 or more dollars for any information leading to this arrest. We will not allow the district attorneys to plead it down. This person will go to jail. This person will never, ever ride a bus or train again." You know, that's what I'm talking about, supporting the people who do the work.
Right.
And I think it might get better here soon, but it takes teamwork, not just management throwing down edicts and operations saying management sucks. You know, that's not very productive. You know, we've got to figure out a way to bring everyone together and make it better.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bus drivers out there, a lot of MAX operators, a lot of people who have the ability to run a transit agency because of their many years of experience, a lot more than I have, mm-hmm. or you, or you know, and
right.
They're not being utilized.
No. You know, my personal belief is, of course, I'm sure government is, you know, has no interest in the people. It's all about the money, and the money goes to insiders and blah, blah. I'm sure you don't want to hear that, but, you know, I personally, I don't have any confidence in government to do the right thing, but, you know, that's just me.
Yeah, and I pick on management quite a bit in my blog, but I try and do it.
What about your personal experience with management? Have you ever had a run-in with management, Deke?
Brother, I stay as far under the radar as I can.
Okay, so you had no run-ins with the management.
Knock on wood.
So they've never called you. They've never called you in for a meeting.
Well, the occasional SIP.
Okay, all right, but that's
program, the
okay.
Complaint, or
all right, but that's,
I did have a PA early in my career. That's understandable. What'd you do, Deke? How can you avoid doing that again? Well,
okay.
Just don't.
Yeah, but they haven't. They haven't.
Picking on me, no.
No, yeah, they're not like me, where they would call me.
I have to be fair. I don't think they're out there to get us usually, unless you piss them off. It's like kicking a sleeping bear.
Unless you're me, you don't. Yeah, I agree with that. They're gonna let you be okay if you do your job. I mean,
Yeah, and if they were to come to me and say, "Hey, are you the Deke?"
The Deke really hasn't done anything wrong, and that's why I've said right from the beginning that the Deke is safe with the TriMet. I know the TriMet management probably better than anybody, especially McFarland, because I've watched this man since the very beginning, and they're not completely unethical. Even I'll admit that they're not complete. They're pretty unethical at times, but only when they're in backed into a corner. They get like that, you know what I mean? If they're backed into the corner, they're going to get you, just like the rest of government.
And that's exactly what a bus operator goes through when we're threatened on the job. It's the same concept.
Right.
You go to punch an operator, they want to punch back. You go to punch management or the board or the GM.
Right.
They're going to want to punch back. It's the same concept.
Right. They'll punch you back. All right. Yeah.
They'll punch us back and they won't get fired. We punch somebody else back. Watch out.
Well, they don't want you. They don't want you doing that over there. They
don't want to be sued.
Yeah. They're all worried about their public perception and all that.
But yeah, they've treated me fairly, and I expect that they will continue to. And but like I said, management, if you're listening to this, I write a blog, I've written a book. You may not like some of it, but there's a lot of it. And I don't want people to get the impression that the book is full of beating up on my employer.
No,
I talk a lot about
it's not.
a lot of the fun things out there, the sad things, the funny, the banal, the weird. It's a wide range of stories of what we go through as bus operators, not just management bad, operator good.
Right.
I'm not some freak out there waving a flag. That's bad, but you know what I mean. I'm not.
Yeah. No, you've done a good job. As somebody who didn't know you until you started writing, and I've never met you personally, and
we have once. We did meet once.
Did I meet you once personally?
At a board meeting.
Did I? Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
That was early on.
Yeah. Oh, did I? I don't know. I'm sick. I'm getting older.
Oh, Deke N'Blue,
I think I do. Now that I do remember, I think I am. Yeah, the from the driver's side is 4.5 years old now, and has had 185,000 hits from all over the world, including Europe, Australia, Africa. People are all from all over the world are reading your blog, and I think you've done a really great job.
Thank you.
Expressing what needs to be expressed. And I personally want to thank you for your great job at explaining what I never was able to actually do. I tried, but I failed.
Well, we had different reasons for doing it. And first of all, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's like I said, very humbling to be appreciated for something I love to do.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people really do appreciate you. I'm very impressed with how many people are really appreciative of what you're doing, including me, that you've been able to actually articulate some of the stuff that is important to understand. And
thank you. And I'm not the only one out there. Like you said earlier, Dan Christensen, he hasn't written in a while. But
no, he stepped back after TriMet slapped him down.
Yeah. And
I mean, they hit him hard. Dan got hit hard by them, and he ended up in the media. You know, he was another one that was victimized by the media. They, you know, he had to step back. He needs that job. But
and then there's other people around the world. There's Robert at bustropical.org in Florida. He and I
oh, really?
exchange information all the time. He's a great writer. You should check him out.
But what's that? Bustropical.org?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
He's in, I believe, Broward County, Florida.
Yeah, Miami-Dade.
Yeah, he sees quite a bit too. And,
Miami-Dade, one of the worst in the country. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, then there's a very fine blog of a bus operator in Seattle. I think it's called Nathan's Blog, or I can't remember the name of that one. But, you know, I'm hoping more people do this. I certainly don't expect to have a monopoly corner in the market. So
it's not that easy to find people that can put it together. It's hard, you know, it's hard to find people that can actually put this together like you have.
And I don't make any money blogging. I just write and put it out there. There may be an ad or two on my page, but there's no pop-ups. There's no annoying crap, and it's just.
You're kind of like the rest of the transit geeks. I call it the transit. There's a whole culture of us out here that people don't. We're called transit geeks, and you know we like the we follow the transit, you know, and that's what we like. And I do that.
There's people on Facebook too. I mean, take for example our brother Henry Beasley.
Who
keeps us up to date on all the assaults going on.
Yeah, he's not letting. You're right. He's keeping that in the forefront. Well, thank God for him, because you know that would be dropped if it wasn't for his activism. You know, nobody paying attention to that.
You haven't seen a thing in the media about the 83 assaults.
No,
the
media.
Not just bus operators, but rail mechanics, supervisors.
No. It's a sad state of affairs that they don't cover it. I don't know. You know. Portland is a very controlled media. I'm sure you know that. It's very controlled there.
Well, hopefully they like my book.
Well, you can get the Deke N'Blue's a book on Amazon for $15. It's called Just Drive, and I would recommend to anybody that's listening to this or whatever that you invest that $15. It's well worth it. And do you have anything else to say, Deke?
Well, thank you as always, Al, for your constant support. I really appreciate that, and the support of my readers who write and comment and offer their own perspectives. And basically Portland. I love you, Portland. It's a great place to live. You're full of fun and humor, and it's a wild and crazy place. And bus operators, we do our part to keep Portland weird too. But I really like the job. I don't think I can do it forever, but it's been one of the most eye-opening, physically tough, mentally challenging jobs I've ever had. And I've had several different careers, but buy the book. It's Amazon.com, like Al said. Just Drive, Life in the Bus Lane, my tribute to the Eagles song, Life in the Fast Lane.
All right.
It will soon be out on audio and ebook.
All right.
And,
sounds
expect more from Deke in the future. I'm not done yet.
All right, Deke. Well, thank you very much for spending time with me, and go out and buy that book, Amazon.com. All right, Deke.
Thank you for everyone for listening to this. I think we've been going on quite a while.
Yeah, 40 minutes. Okay. All right. Thank you, folks, for listening.